September 1944. A ship moves across the Pacific Ocean toward California. Inside the ship sit 127 Japanese soldiers. They are now prisoners of war. Most Japanese soldiers died fighting rather than become prisoners. These men are the few who lived. For 3 years, Japanese leaders told their people that America was weak. They said Americans were soft and lazy. They said America would give up after 6 months of war. But what these prisoners will see in America will change everything they believe about their enemy. Petty Officer Hiroshi Yamada writes in his secret diary, "The Americans give us 3 hot meals every day, real meat and fresh bread. More food than we had in 6 months of fighting. This cannot be the weak country our leaders told us about." These prisoners think they know their enemy. They are about to learn they know nothing at all. What they will discover about American military power will shock them beyond belief. The American ship taking them to California is nothing like what the prisoners expected. They have clean beds with soft mattresses, hot meals served 3 times every day. American doctors treat their wounds with care and give them medicine that actually works. In the Japanese army, wounded soldiers were often left to die. Medical supplies were saved for officers only. Common soldiers got very little help. Seaman Kenji Nakamura was captured after his ship was sunk near the Philippines. He writes in his diary with amazement, "American doctors treat us better than our own officers ever did. They give us pain medicine freely. They use expensive medical supplies on prisoners that Japanese hospitals save for important people only." The ship itself shows American manufacturing power. The prisoners learn it was built in just 18 days at a shipyard in California. Built fast, but built very well. Every system works perfectly without problems. The ship's crew talks easily about dozens of identical ships being launched every week. Numbers that seem impossible to believe. In Japan, building one major warship takes 2 full years. Aviation mechanic Saburo Ito writes, "They build ships like we build bicycles. Fast and efficient without any effort. How many ships does America really have?" The answer will shock them more than they can imagine. If you want to learn more shocking facts about World War II, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest videos. October 12, 1944. San Francisco Bay. As their ship enters the harbor, the Japanese prisoners see something that destroys their last hope that Japan might still win this war. The bay stretches for miles in every direction. But it is not just the size that shocks them. It is what fills the water that makes their hearts sink. Massive aircraft carriers make everything around them look small. The USS Essex sits at the dock. It is longer than 3 city blocks put together. Its flight deck is covered with the newest American fighter planes, F-6F, Hellcats, and F-4U Corsairs. These are the planes that have been shooting Japanese aircraft out of the sky with ease. Aviation mechanic Saburo. Ito stares and cannot believe his eyes. Those Hellcat fighters have 6 heavy machine guns each. Our Zero fighters have only 2 cannons. But look how many planes they have on just one carrier. He counts 84 aircraft on the Essex's deck. More planes on one ship than most Japanese airfields have in total. Destroyers and cruisers fill the harbor. They are covered with anti-aircraft guns and the latest radar equipment. The Japanese can see radar dishes turning on every ship. They thought only Japan had this technology in small amounts. But the most shocking sight is the battleships. The USS Missouri sits in dry dock for repairs. Its main guns are bigger than anything in the Japanese Navy. 9 huge 16-inch guns that can fire shells as heavy as small cars over 20 miles away. Corporal Toshiro Saito counts 89 warships that he can see from their transport ship. "This is just one American port," he writes. "How many ports does America have? How many ships? Each one has more firepower than our entire home defense fleet." The prisoners walk past parking lots full of civilian cars, hundreds of cars belonging to dock workers. Regular American workers own private cars. In Japan, only government officials and very rich people own cars. The trains that will carry them across America provide another shock. Not freight cars or crowded passenger seats, but comfortable cars with soft seats, dining cars, and working bathrooms. We travel in luxury while our families at home have no rice, Saito writes. The 4-day train journey across America becomes a moving classroom about American military power. Through the windows, the prisoners see an industrial landscape that is beyond Japanese understanding. Factory after factory stretches along the railway. Smokestacks rise like forests. Electric power lines cross the landscape like giant spiderwebs. Every small town has electric streetlights. Every farmhouse glows with electric lights. Even tiny villages have more electricity than major Japanese cities. At night, the train passes aircraft factories running full shifts. Through huge windows, the prisoners see assembly lines building the most advanced warplanes in the world. At a Boeing plant, they watch B-29 Superfortress bombers being built. These bombers are much larger than anything Japan has ever made. 4 massive engines, pressurized cabins so they can fly very high, remote-controlled gun turrets, bomb areas that can carry 20,000 pounds of explosives. Technical Sergeant Ichiro Matsumoto worked at Mitsubishi Aircraft Factory in Japan. He stares through the window and writes, "Each B-29 has 10 heavy machine guns in automated turrets. Our bombers have only 3 guns that men must operate by hand. These planes can fly higher than our fighters can reach them." He watches workers install the latest radar systems and electronic navigation equipment, technology that Japan is years away from developing. At a Lockheed plant, they see P-38 Lightning fighters rolling off the assembly line, twin-engine fighters that are faster than anything in the Japanese Air Force. Each one has 4 heavy machine guns and 1 cannon. One American P-38 has more firepower than 2 of our Zero fighters, Matsumoto calculates, and they build them like automobiles. Fast, efficient, and perfect every time. The train passes tank factories producing the latest Sherman tanks. These tanks have 76mm guns that can penetrate any Japanese armor. The prisoners watch dozens of completed tanks drive out of the factory under their own power. Tank crewman Kenji Sato recognizes the specifications immediately. Our Type 97 tanks have 47mm guns and thin armor. These Sherman tanks would destroy our entire armored division without taking any damage. The train passes steel mills that light up the night sky. Rivers of molten metal pour into molds. One American steel plant produces more steel in a day than all Japanese steel mills produce in a week. Want to see more amazing World War II stories? Hit that like button and let us know in the comments which topic you'd like us to cover next. November 1944. Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. The Japanese prisoners expect a harsh prison. Instead, they find facilities that are better than Japanese military bases. Wooden buildings with electric heat in every room. Hot showers with unlimited water. Flush toilets that work properly. Electric lights that can be turned on and off whenever they want. The mess hall serves 3 hot meals daily. Fresh meat, vegetables, milk, and white bread. More protein and calories than Japanese soldiers got during their best months of the war. Camp Sergeant Kenji Watanabe managed food supplies for a Japanese infantry regiment. He cannot believe what he sees. "Today we threw away more food than my entire regiment got in weekly supplies," he writes. "Not spoiled food, just extras. American rules require cooking more than needed to make sure every prisoner gets full meals." The camp hospital amazes Japanese medical workers. Dr. Akira Yamamoto finds equipment he has only read about in foreign medical books. X-ray machines, surgical tools, medicines that do not exist in Japan. Most shocking of all is penicillin, the miracle antibiotic. They use penicillin freely on prisoners with small infections, Dr. Yamamoto writes. Japanese soldiers die from simple wounds, while Americans give their most advanced medicine to enemies. The camp library has thousands of books in Japanese translation. Newspapers from across America arrive every day. The prisoners can read about the war from the American side without any censorship. What they read destroys their remaining beliefs about Japanese success. December 1944. Labor shortages force America to use prisoner workers on farms and in factories that do not make weapons directly. Japanese prisoners get on buses going to work sites across the Midwest. They travel without blindfolds or limits on what they can see. They see everything. At farms in Iowa, they see agricultural machines that change everything they know about farming. One mechanical corn picker harvests what 50 Japanese farmers could do by hand. The farms stretch to the horizon. Each one is larger than entire Japanese regions. The American farmer's teenage son drives a tractor worth more than everything most Japanese families own. When prisoner Yamada shows amazement, the boy laughs. "Dad is buying a bigger one next spring," he says casually. "This one is getting old." Casual replacement of expensive machinery. Wealth that Japanese cannot understand. At a flour mill in Minnesota, prisoners see grain storage buildings that hold more wheat than Japan imports in an entire year. Endless trains arrive carrying grain from farms across the Great Plains. The mill processes more flour in a day than all Japanese mills process in a week. Much of it gets shipped overseas to feed American armies fighting across the Pacific. They can feed their armies anywhere in the world while still having extra food, writes mill worker Sato. Japan cannot even feed its own people. The most devastating discoveries come from prisoners working near American military manufacturing plants. At a Chrysler factory in Detroit, changed from making automobiles to tank production, they see military hardware that makes Japanese equipment look like toys from the past. The plant produces M26 Pershing heavy tanks. These monsters have 90mm guns and thick armor that Japanese anti-tank weapons cannot penetrate. Each tank weighs 46 tons and moves at 25 miles per hour. Faster than many Japanese tanks despite being twice as heavy. Tank production supervisor Tanaka managed armor production in Japan. He watches in shock as the assembly line produces these giants. Everything is automated beyond Japanese ability, he documents. Robot welders join armor plates with precision we cannot achieve by hand. Each Pershing tank has more steel than 3 Japanese Type 97 tanks combined. The factory floor shows cutaway sections displaying the tank's interior, advanced fire control systems, electric gun stabilizers, radio equipment that allows communication between tanks over long distances. Our tank crews use flags to signal each other, Tanaka writes. American tank crews have two-way radios and can coordinate attacks across miles. At a nearby General Electric plant, prisoners see production of the secret proximity fuse, the device that makes American anti-aircraft guns devastatingly effective. These fuses use tiny radar units to make shells explode near enemy aircraft automatically. Artillery specialist Yamada understands the implications immediately. No wonder our aircraft are being shot down so easily. American anti-aircraft shells do not need direct hits. They explode when they get close to planes. At the Ford Willow Run plant, prisoners watch B-24 Liberator bomber production. One completed aircraft every 63 minutes at peak production. Each bomber carries 10 heavy machine guns and automated turrets and can deliver 8,000 pounds of bombs over 2,000 miles. Flight mechanic Kato serviced Japanese bombers before capture. He compares specifications and writes, "Our best bomber carries 1,500 pounds of bombs, 1,200 miles. These B-24s carry 5 times more bombs and fly much farther. And they are building one every hour." The prisoners watch as the latest P-51 Mustang fighters are loaded onto transport planes. These long-range fighters can escort bombers all the way to Japan and back. They have 6 heavy machine guns and can outfly any Japanese fighter. Our Zero fighters cannot match the P-51 speed, climb rate, or firepower, writes fighter pilot Suzuki, who was shot down over Leyte Gulf. Worse, they have enough fuel range to hunt us over our own territory. Christmas, 1944. American churches and civic groups send Christmas packages to Japanese prisoners. These are the same enemies who attacked Pearl Harbor, the same enemies killing American soldiers across the Pacific. Yet Americans send gifts. Over 50,000 Christmas packages arrive at Japanese prison camps. Each package has cigarettes, candy, soap, books, and small games. At Camp McCoy, the local Lutheran church performs Christmas songs in Japanese for the prisoners. American families contribute homemade cookies and cakes. This kindness toward enemies who started the war challenges every belief about American character. Lieutenant Yamashita's unit took part in the Pearl Harbor attack. He writes, "They know we bombed their naval base. They know we started this war. Many have sons fighting our armies, yet they show Christian charity to enemies. What kind of people treat enemies with such humanity? Only those completely confident in their victory. The Christmas feast cannot be understood. Turkey, ham, mashed potatoes, vegetables, multiple kinds of pie, ice cream. More food than most Japanese have seen since before the war started. The prisoners eat until they feel sick. They cannot process such abundance given to enemies. We feast like emperors," writes Seaman Nakamura. "Better than Japanese admirals eat. If America feeds prisoners this well, what do their own soldiers get?" Early 1945. Japanese prisoners get access to uncensored news about the war's progress. American newspapers, radio broadcasts, and newsreels show the reality their government hid from them. American forces moving closer to Japan island by island. Japanese cities being bombed, Japanese shipping destroyed. The numbers are devastating. American aircraft production is 100,000 planes per year. Japanese production is 28,000 planes per year, most of which are of poor quality. American ship production is 5,000 vessels per year. Japanese production is 400 vessels per year, with most sunk before completion. American steel production is 90 million tons per year. Japanese production is 8 million tons per year, going down due to raw material shortages. The prisoners begin to understand they never had a chance of winning this war. Captain Tanaka writes, "We were told American production was failing. Instead, they outproduce us 10 to 1 in every category. We attacked a giant while believing it was a small enemy." Educational programs begin in the camps. American universities send professors to teach English, American history, and democratic government principles. The hunger for real knowledge amazes American authorities. These prisoners want to understand how America became so powerful. Physics professor Dr. Akio Sato attends lectures on American industrial development. He learns about the education system that produces skilled workers, the economic system that rewards new ideas, the political system that promotes competition. They share knowledge freely, even with enemies, he writes. Their strength comes not from hiding secrets, but from creating new knowledge faster than others can copy it. This is just the beginning of this incredible story. Subscribe now and ring that notification bell to discover what happened when these prisoners learned about America's ultimate weapon. August 6th and 9th, 1945. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. News of the atomic bombs reaches prison camps within hours. Japanese prisoners listen to American radio broadcasts describing a weapon that changed warfare forever. The atomic bomb represents the ultimate show of American military technology. One B-29 bomber carries a single bomb that destroys an entire city. The explosive power equals 20,000 tons of regular bombs. Physics specialist Dr. Akio Sato understands the military implications immediately. One American bomber now carries more destructive power than our entire fleet of aircraft combined. They have created a weapon that makes armies, navies, and air forces obsolete. The Enola Gay, The B-29 that dropped the Hiroshima bomb flew at 31,000 feet, higher than Japanese fighters can reach. It approached without being detected, dropped one bomb, and flew away. No massive bombing fleet needed. No fighter escort required. The technical details shock the prisoners even more than the destruction. The Manhattan Project employed 125,000 workers at secret facilities across America. Entire cities built just to develop these weapons. The Oak Ridge facility in Tennessee separated uranium using electromagnetic methods. The Hanford site in Washington produced plutonium in nuclear reactors. Los Alamos in New Mexico designed and tested the weapons. They built entire cities in secret while we struggled to maintain basic supply lines, writes Lieutenant Colonel Kobayashi. They developed weapons using physics we barely understand while we still rely on regular explosives. The B-29s that delivered the atomic bombs represent American military aviation at its peak. Pressurized cabins allowing flight at extreme altitude. Advanced radar systems for navigation and bombing. Remote-controlled gun turrets defending against fighters. Each B-29 costs $600,000, more than Japan spends on an entire air squadron. Yet America built over 3,900 of them during the war. Bomber specialist Tanaka calculates the overwhelming numbers. They have 3,900 B-29s that can each carry atomic weapons. We have fewer than 500 aircraft remaining in all of Japan. They could destroy every Japanese city with nuclear weapons and still have bombers left over. The prisoners learn that American scientists are already working on even more powerful hydrogen bombs. Weapons that will make the atomic bombs look small by comparison. "We thought we were fighting a military war," writes Major Yamashita. "Instead, we challenged a nation that has moved beyond military warfare into atomic warfare. We brought swords to a nuclear fight." August 14, 1945. Emperor Hirohito announces Japan's surrender over the radio. Japanese prisoners gather around camp loudspeakers to hear their emperor acknowledge complete defeat and order all Japanese forces to stop fighting. World War II is over. Japan has lost totally and completely. For the prisoners, this moment makes clear their complete change of thinking. They have seen American industrial capacity that their government hid from them. They have experienced American humanity that goes against everything they were taught about their enemy. Major Yamashita captures the moment perfectly. "Today, our emperor acknowledged what we learned months ago through our own eyes. We challenged the world's most powerful industrial democracy with spiritual slogans and outdated equipment. We sent bamboo spears against machine guns, old biplanes against jets, religious fervor against unlimited material resources. The miracle is not that we lost. The miracle is that anyone thought we could win." The prisoners begin preparing to go home with mixed emotions. They have eaten better as prisoners than as soldiers. They have received better medical care from enemies than from their own government. They have watched a democratic industrial society working at peak efficiency while treating enemies with dignity that was never seen before. Between 1945 and 1947, about 5,000 Japanese military prisoners return home from America. They go back to a Japan destroyed by bombing, occupied by American forces, facing complete rebuilding of society and government. But they carry valuable knowledge with them. Direct observation of how democratic society works at maximum efficiency. Many former prisoners help with Japan's post-war rebuilding. Hiroshi Yamada becomes a leader in Japan's car industry, bringing American production methods to Toyota. Dr. Akira Yamamoto serves as president of a major Japanese university, changing medical education. Kenji Watanabe helps establish Japan's modern farming system using American farming techniques. Captain Tanaka becomes an advocate for democratic government and close ties with America. They bring American industrial methods to Japanese companies. American efficiency to Japanese manufacturing. American democratic principles to Japanese society. Japan's economic miracle of the 1950s and 1960s builds partly on knowledge gained by these few prisoners in American camps. We learned that prosperity comes from freedom, not conquest, Yamada writes in his memoirs. We observed that democracy creates wealth, that education produces innovation, that treating workers well increases production. These lessons learned as prisoners helped shape modern Japan. Historians call the Japanese prisoner experience in America one of the most successful mind change programs ever achieved. Without force, without propaganda, American industrial might and democratic humanity converted dedicated imperial soldiers into advocates for democracy and cooperation with America. The program succeeded because it relied on observation, not teaching. The few thousand Japanese prisoners saw American society working at peak efficiency while treating enemies with dignity. Dr. Harold Nakamura, historian of Japanese-American relations, concludes, America won the ideological war not through propaganda, but through demonstrated reality. Every adequate meal, every electric light, every modern convenience was evidence against Japanese militarism. The statistics prove this assessment. Of about 5,000 Japanese military prisoners held in America, fewer than 20 tried to escape. Post-war surveys show 94% rated their treatment as good or excellent. Most remarkably, hundreds kept writing letters to American families for decades after the war. The few Japanese prisoners who experienced American industrial power during World War II became bridges between former enemies. Their change from dedicated imperial soldiers to advocates for democracy and American cooperation helped establish the strong alliance between Japan and America that continues today. They returned to Japan not as defeated enemies, but as witnesses to what free people can achieve when they work together. In their small numbers but powerful testimonies lay the seeds of reconciliation between two nations that had fought the Pacific War with unprecedented intensity. The arsenal of democracy had won its most important victory, proving that American strength came not from hatred, but from the productive power of free people working together. These Japanese prisoners saw American military power at its peak. Massive aircraft carriers filled with advanced fighters, heavy bombers that could fly farther and carry more destruction than anything they had imagined, tanks with armor and guns that made Japanese equipment look like toys, factories that produced military hardware at speeds that seemed impossible. But they also saw something else. They saw that this incredible military power came from a society that treated even its enemies with dignity and respect. A society that valued education, innovation, and human potential above all else. When they returned to Japan, they carried with them the knowledge that true strength comes not from conquest, but from creation. Not from oppression, but from opportunity. Not from fear, but from freedom. The Japanese prisoners who witnessed America's military might became living proof that former enemies could become the closest of allies. Their story shows us that even in the darkest times of war, humanity and hope can prevail. Today, Japan and America stand as strong partners and friends. This transformation began in American prison camps where Japanese soldiers discovered that their greatest enemy possessed not just overwhelming military power, but something far more powerful: the ability to turn enemies into friends through the simple demonstration of what free people can accomplish when they work together in peace. The arsenal of democracy's greatest weapon was never its bombs or bullets. It was its capacity to show that there was a better way to live, a better way to treat others, and a better way to build a world where former enemies could become lasting friends.